if I'm on the internet, like even with social media, am I spending more time consuming social media, or am I using social media to produce something for myself and my family, for produce income, produce results? If it's Amazon, am I buying stuff on Amazon all the time, or am I selling stuff on Amazon, right? It's like you can take any aspect of your life and flip it and go, how can I use this to be a producer? And then if you're consuming all the time, be it a course even. Let's say you take a program from Aidan, right? Or my own or whatever, right? And you find that you're just listening to it all the time. It's problematic. You've got to become the producer. You got to take that now and put it into action. Because anything that I've ever learned from anybody of substance that I've put into action, I've got results with.
You're listening to The Growth Booth, the show focused on achieving lifestyle freedom through online businesses. Whether you're looking for step-by-step strategies to start building an online business, simple game plans to grow your business, or proven lifestyle freedom frameworks, you are in the right place. Stay tuned and be sure to join the thousands of listeners already in growth mode.
Aidan Booth here, welcome to episode number 58 of The Growth Booth, where today I'm joined by dad of two, serial entrepreneur, e-commerce expert, Stephen Summers. Stephen has been someone I've wanted to get on the podcast. We've been kicking this around for months, even probably a year at this point. I've been saying, hey man, you got to come on the podcast. I want to interview you. You're doing some amazing things. And finally, all the stars have aligned and the man himself is here with me today. So Stephen, thanks for joining me here.
Aidan, any excuse I get to talk to you, I will take it. I'm delighted to be here. I get a couple of minutes away from those two kids to chat with yourself. So I cannot wait to get into this today.
Awesome. So if you have heard of Stephen, but maybe you don't know where you've seen him, he is the mastermind, one of the co-founders of Marketplace Superheroes, which you can check out at marketplacesuperheroes.com. And he's been living, breathing, eating e-commerce for as long as I know, anyway, and he's done all kinds of different things, from selling thousands and thousands of physical products online to getting involved with logistics, shipping. On a personal note, I've had the fortune of being able to hang out with Stephen in person probably on 5 or 6 occasions, maybe at this point.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, Stephen has been a guest speaker at some of our Blueprint Academy live in-person events. So this is someone that I genuinely know really, really well. And I know that he knows a heck of a lot about e-commerce, probably more than anyone else that I know. So what is working in e-commerce, in the world of e-commerce in 2023? Where should we start here?
Yeah, well, as you know, Aidan, I've spent the better part of now 12 years working on marketplaces and selling products on marketplaces, all different kinds. So like you mentioned, we've sold our own branded products ourselves for many, many years, myself and Robert Ricky, my other business partner in Marketplace Superheroes. And lately, we returned back to where I began in e-commerce. So when I started out 12 years ago, sure enough, we were selling on eBay, we were selling on Amazon, but actually we were selling other people's already branded, already successful items on the platform. And for many years, we didn't teach that. We did it for a long time and continued to do it and made a lot of money doing it. I reckon Robert's probably done about $20 million, maybe $25 million now, of just like other people branded products on Amazon at this point in sales. And we returned back to it this year because I had an experience where I met this guy called Mike Sieben. Mike is in Canada, and basically he was interviewing me for his YouTube channel, and I was talking about Amazon private label, i.e. selling your own branded stuff on the Amazon platform. And as we got talking, he was speaking to me about a model that he had been perfecting, like a model of wholesale model where he was selling these already successful products. And I was saying, hey, I did that for so many years. I made a lot of money doing it. Tell me more about how you do it. And sure enough, like you, Aidan, you're a curious guy. I'm a curious guy. He started talking to me about how he was doing it, and it was very different to how myself and Robert began. So big focus for us, last year and now this year as well, has been on how can we help people grow and scale on e-commerce marketplaces like Amazon without having to wait a long time to get stuff imported, without having to do a lot of the different things that we've done for so many years, only doing private label. And it's been incredible. One of the accounts that we're involved in, I mean, we've done well over $1.3 million in well less than 18 months with what I'm talking about. And the really crazy thing that I had never done, genuinely, was we can sell things from brands like Disney and Samsung and Adidas and all these huge, huge companies, Mattel. And I never did that. We always went directly to a brand and we sold their products on Amazon. And that for me has been really interesting, just seeing how you can resell things that are already working, already making a ton of money. And the risk factor, as we've learned, is like, I mean, almost zero, simply because we have a methodology whereby we're working with these different distributors or wholesalers. There's different categories of companies we work with. And I've never seen anything like it from, speed of success in our community as well. That's been one of the coolest things, just seeing people, who maybe didn't get involved in private label. It was like too difficult or whatever, like took too long, all these different things that, beginning entrepreneurs have, them actually get involved now and going and doing it and going to have success. So in a way, what's new for me, Aidan, this year in e-commerce is something that's been around for a long time. It's just we hadn't focused on it, and I hadn't learned a few of the little pieces that Mike brought to the table. And I just can't. It's just so exciting, and there's even more we're doing. But that's been, I suppose, one of the main things we've been focused on, and the success from ourselves and from others has been the most I've ever seen in my 12 years now selling on the internet. So that's been pretty cool. And Aidan, at the end of the day, like, results are the name of the game for ourselves and for others. So yeah, it's been really, really great, really exciting, and I can't wait to do more.
We've had a long history of selling our own branded products on Amazon as well. So we know some of the challenges that people face with that. I mean, for starters, if you're selling your own brand of product on Amazon, it means you're going to have to do some branding up front. You're going to have to order some inventory, which could be a few $1,000s worth up front. You're going to have to ship that in to handle all the logistics. Whereas with what you're talking about here, it seems like, and just clarify me if I'm wrong here, it seems like you are not worrying about buying too much inventory, if any, up front, and you don't need your own brand. What about actually finding these products? I mean, where do you have suppliers in China? Is it in the United States? How does that work?
It's the beauty of it all, really. I mean, it's all domestic. That in and of itself, I think, is a game changer. I just want to make it clear and put it on record, by the way, for everybody listening. Like, we're huge fans of private label still. I know Aidan and Steve and the team are also, like, they do a lot of that as well, like we talked about. So just want to make that clear. I suppose where I'm coming from is we're talking about what's been like a really interesting growth area, and this has been it. And just to say, yes, with domestic suppliers, like I just said, meaning like if you're selling on Amazon.com, for example, well, yeah, you're going to domestic US suppliers, number one. Number two, I think what's even more interesting maybe for you listening today is simply the fact that, like, if you're selling something that's private label, you're saying, well, I'm looking at a market here, and this market for, let's say, I don't know, tomato steaks, or tomato steaks, we would say, but for all the North Americans in the crew, right? And tomato steaks, we might sell that because we can see there's an opportunity. We can get our own branded version of this and put it into the market and have success. Whereas my question when I first met Mike, like way back, and he introduced me to this, it was like, well, what if you could just sell what's already working? Like, you didn't have to establish anything new. You didn't have to even create a new listing. You literally could just sell what was already selling. And yeah, you won't make as big a margin as selling your own branded item. But at the end of the day, what you quote unquote lose in speed, you make up for massively in, I mean, zero risk, basically, which I'll happily get into. I can't say 100%, like, it's not zero, but obviously it's as low as possible, which we can talk about. But it's the fact that it's like, oh, I can see that, I don't know, it's a Disney princess doll, right, from Frozen or whatever. And I'm able to get access to that from a wholesale distributor, and I'm able to get myself in a position where I can literally sell that. And so it becomes a case of, the question changes from, well, do I have to establish something brand new on Amazon? No, it's like, how can I jump on this listing and share the revenue and the profits with other people who are selling that exact same item? And some people are like, oh, well, I want to be selling 100% of it. I don't want anybody else. But you don't need to. You can make tens of thousands of dollars a month by just sharing it and not doing any marketing whatsoever, because people are already on Amazon literally looking for that doll, and they go into that listing to buy it. And if you've access to that buy box, which I'll happily chat a bit more about, the area where it says add to cart or buy now. So if you've ever been on Amazon, you would see that. One seller can only operate that buy box at one time. And when you have that, it's kind of like being on page one of Google. You get all the traffic, most of the traffic, you get most of the sales. And yeah, like there's so much more. I'm happy to go as deep as you want, Aidan, whatever you want.
This episode is brought to you by Cartsy. Cartsy is an all-in-one e-commerce shopping platform that can help you build an e-commerce business in record time. It provides you with all the bells and whistles that you need to get started selling your own products online, and it's incredibly easy to use, built for newbies who want to grow an online business without all the hassles and headaches that come with other shopping platforms. If you'd like to learn more about Cartsy and take advantage of a special offer that we've set up, and I can do that because I'm actually the owner of Cartsy, then head over to thegrowthbooth.com/Cartsy. That's spelled Cartzy. That's thegrowthbooth.com/Cartsy, and get more information about how we can help you build an e-commerce business and how you can unlock the power of Cartsy today. Now back over to the episode.
No, it's really, I really enjoyed listening to everything you're doing there, and there is a lot of parallels with what you're doing with what we did a few years ago. I think it was 2016, 2017. We were doing something that we referred to as Amazon Wholesale, which is basically the model that you're talking about here. And for some of our listeners, you may remember that we had a product around that called 7-Figure Cycle. And in this product, we showed how we were selling everything from, bags of seeds to plant in the garden to little gizmos for recording audio on your cell phone and everything in between. And it really is, in terms of e-commerce, one of the fastest ways to get up and going. I think there's a lot of parallels with what you're doing with this model to what we've been focused on over the past few years with our Kibo courses, where we're selling other people's products. The only difference being that we're not specifically using the Amazon platform. We've been selling other people's products. We've been able to pinpoint other people's products that are selling well, sell them in our own stores, sell them in the Facebook Marketplace and other platforms. But you're specifically doing it on Amazon, which is huge. I mean, can you share some numbers of perhaps, or just some weird and wacky products that you might have sold or you have seen other people selling on Amazon using, and the kind of velocity that you can go from okay, I'm going to start selling this little microphone. There are 3 other people selling it as well, the exact same one. Like how quickly can sales build here?
Huge. We in one of the accounts that we run, that account does at the time of recording, it's doing anywhere from about $7,000 to $10,000 a day in revenue doing the model. And we're selling all kinds of different stuff, from different kinds of supplements. We're selling some beauty products, different types of creams, things like that. We're also selling some toy products. So again, we sell Paw Patrol wallets, is one of the things that we've sold, right? And again, these Disney princesses I mentioned, there's even Christmas products that we did a few months back, like a elf on the shelf type stuff, because like you mentioned with your product you guys talked about, it's a similar model, but a little bit different, I think, as well, because one of the things with us is the brand is very important. Selling a branded product is important in this model. And the reason for that is because, the traffic is coming to those listings because the person is looking for that exact item. So another example would be we've sold Mattel products, like Hot Wheels products for kids. Again, I'm throwing out toy examples just because they're really easy to understand, and a lot of you might have seen them before or stepped on them whenever you're in the house and your kids were playing with them, right? But you could get these exact Hot Wheels products, bring it in. It's that product could be doing anywhere from about 30 to 50 grand in a month in revenue. And then you could be one of 3 or 4 sellers selling that. So you can essentially divide the revenue by 4 if you become the 4th seller, and that's what you could potentially be generating in revenue. I even have another thing I was just looking at the other day. We're not selling it right now, and I don't think any of our clients are yet, but it's a power tool product. It was a very well-known branded power tool. I think it was Dewal, W-A-H-L is the brand, and there's about 8 different sellers on it, but there's only about 3 or 4 who are what we would call competitive sellers. In other words, they're selling it at a price point where they could get access to the Amazon buy box. So let's say they're selling it for $200. Everybody else is selling it for say $250. Well, Amazon will only give it to the people who are at the lowest price using Amazon's fulfillment service as well. Key point. So again, like that listing, which is just crazy. We're looking into it. That does about 260 grand a month in revenue on Amazon, that one listing. And so that's likely been split up between about 6 or 7 people. So like that's a huge velocity. We're not selling that product, just to be clear. But again, yeah, like our business that's done about $1.3 million in about the last 18 months, that's literally been about 6 suppliers approximately selling, 5, 10 products a supplier. It's not like we're selling hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different items. And so really the name of the game is, how can we find items where people are already going to, they're already buying them right now, the traffic is there, no marketing required therefore, and then how can we get access to those products, which is a question you asked a minute ago. So just to answer that, how we do that is, let's say, I'll just pick the Hot Wheels example. So Mattel Toys are the company that make the Hot Wheels product, right? So there's a number of different things you can do. You can go to Google, cost you nothing, and you can literally search Mattel Distributors New York, Mattel Distributors California, for example, right? So we're on different coasts in the US. And you will get a lot of results. And even Mattel themselves, in many cases, if it's a distributor, you can go to the website and you can just see these are the distributors that they work with, because this is something that people don't understand, Aidan, that I think it's important. When you've got these big companies that are humongous, bigger than any of us will ever be, right? They don't have the time to build a sales team, to be on the ground building distribution and warehouses and all of that. So what they do is, yeah, exactly. So what they do is they say, okay, how can we find a wholesale distributor who can take over that for us? They'll go and find resellers. They'll go and deal with Walmart. They'll deal with 7-Eleven. They'll deal with all these big, with Target, huge companies. Tesco in the UK, for example, Argos in the UK. They'll deal with them on behalf of the brand. And so then we can come along. These are just one source of products for us. We can open accounts with these distributors and be a reseller. And so there's different levels to this as well, which again, we can get into if you want to, but you can go with a wholesaler, which is somebody who gets lots of products, big volume, and then they want to resell them to resellers. You then have a distributor who directly distributes a brand, and that's a little bit more difficult to get involved in, but totally doable, like we do it all the time. And then you have the brand. You can work directly with the brand. There are many occasions right now. We're actually establishing a vitamin brand, and I think they do some proteins as well on Amazon. And they don't want to deal with Amazon. Like, they don't want to do it themselves. So we're literally doing it for them, dealing directly with the brand. So they're the 3 different levels. There's all kinds of different things that can happen at each level. What's the most important thing to understand is it's actually really simple in many cases to open wholesale accounts. Simple. And distributors, a little bit more involved, but equally not hard at all. So it's so interesting, this whole thing.
Obviously, we've been talking a lot about this as an interesting opportunity in 2023. It's something that's working really well in e-commerce right now, and it would be very interesting to build a brand new business around. But a lot of our listeners who already have e-commerce stores, I'm looking at this and thinking, hey, this is a way you can add another layer to the business. This is the way that you can have another, income stream coming in, diversify what you're doing, and tap into this amazing Amazon ecosystem. So get your foot in that door, leverage everything there is to love about that ecosystem, such as the logistics being handled for you, piggybacking on listings that are already selling like crazy. And for the people that are watching the video version of this podcast, which I should say that you can find at thegrowthbooth.com, head over to the podcast section, navigate to episode number 58, or head over to YouTube and do a search for The Growth Booth, and you'll find this. I'm going to open a little brown box, which I've got, and if you're just listening to the audio version, I'll explain what I'm doing here. Inside this box, I've got something that, 2 things actually, that I purchased recently on Amazon, and I purchased them from sellers who were resellers, essentially, using the exact model that Stephen is using. So I'm opening up my little brown box here, and we've got 2 things coming out. One is a pretty boring microphone cable. I can't remember what I paid for that, but we're talking maybe $10 or $15 or something. But the guy that sold this did no work at all, and he was able to pocket, I don't know, 30, 40% maybe, depending on what his margins were. Now, the other thing, which is pretty interesting, is a shotgun microphone. It's a Rode shotgun microphone. Now, this thing, from memory, might have sold for $170, $180, maybe $200. And also, I didn't buy this from the Rode company. I bought it from just some random seller who was able to sell this product. And this person who I bought this from is selling a worldwide, well-known brand in the audio-visual space, and would have probably pocketed 20, 30 bucks. He didn't have to worry about any branding or anything like that. So this is something that can work for the most mundane products, like a little microphone cable, which could cost 10 bucks, or things that can cost hundreds of dollars, like the Rode shotgun mic that I just shared with you. And I think that's really interesting. And there's an opportunity here to sell lots of different products in your account. You could be selling, gardening seeds. You could be selling kitchen accessories. You could be selling a microphone like this one, or you could double down and get into a niche. So I know you want to jump in there and say something really smart.
When you were talking, I went onto Amazon and I decided, okay, let me go and see what he's got there. So I reckon I have the same product. I'm pretty sure. I might be a little bit off, but I think it's the same. It's a Rode video mic camera. Microphone. And we have a software of our own that we use. Hero Launchpad, it's called. And what we can do is we can scan the listings. I think you guys had some similar stuff in the past as well. We can scan the listings. We have an algorithm in place that'll tell us what kind of revenue that product is doing. And this one that I'm looking at, which may not be the exact same as yours, but I think it's very similar, a Rode video mic, that does, according to Hero Launchpad, a monthly revenue of $551,518, right? So again, not for 1 second would I be saying, one person is making all those sales, because that's absolutely not going to be the case. It's likely going to be different people. And as I look at it right now, just to say that as I'm looking at it, there's a company called Procam are selling it. It's not Amazon themselves. It's called Procam. So they are a third-party seller, just like what we're talking about, who have access to these products, and they're making sales. And you can see at $551,000, let's say there were 10 different sellers. I mean, can I even see how many there are? There's like new used and new from 20, but from what I can see here, there's only about 4 that actually are competitive, that are selling at the price point where they could make a sale, where Amazon would give them the buy box. So you could divide 4 into 551,000 and approximately get what each seller could be generating from a revenue perspective from that one item. And you're talking there a margin of probably anywhere from 15 to 30%. So again, you can do the maths on that and say, well, if it was 10% and you were doing 100 grand in sales,
140 grand in sales, and you're getting 10.
Yeah, that'd be 14,000, but then you're probably talking more than that. So it's probably anywhere from 14 to 20 grand a month profit from the one item. Now, that's just me calculating based upon the information I have. Yeah. Just to say, I'm not saying that's exactly what's going on, but that's likely the case.
Yeah, it's directionally what's happening there, and this is kind of back of an envelope, scribbling down, if you like, of how we go about this. And I think it's really useful to sort of understand. Stephen sees a product like that. He's got some software that he can use. He can go over to Amazon, and within a couple of seconds, he's got some real numbers coming back to him, which might not be 100% perfect, but directionally, we can see that the microphone is doing $550,000 in sales a month, and maybe the little mic cable might be doing $15,000 in sales a month, to give you an example. So that's awesome. Now, in terms of logistics, how do you guys do that? Do you do fulfilled by merchant, where you're essentially sending off the product? How do you fulfill by Amazon? How does that work?
No, we definitely don't, which is great news, because I have done. So
you don't do fulfilled by merchant, just to be clear.
Yeah, I have done that many times in my career. That is not what we're doing. Fulfilled by merchant being, I have the product, I'm shipping it out to you, the customer, myself. I've done it many times, as I know you have, Aidan, over the years, and I don't recommend it. Really stressful. You're dealing with customer support queries all day. It's just not ideal. So what we do is just let's just take this road example, and I don't just live it out a little bit, right? Just to make it really practical for you listening or watching today. So the road product, we would go, okay, road distributors, New York. Let's just say we do that, and we go and we search that in Google, and we can find companies or whatever distributors who have the product. We open an account with the distributor. Let's just say there's no problems. We open it up, and then we're in a situation when we go, show me all the products you've got access to. Show me your cost price to me, how much you're going to charge me. And then we have a little method where we can just calculate out whether something's profitable or not profitable in our software. Very, very simple. So let's say we find that road, Mike, and it looks like it's going to make us money. It's making us 10, 15% or whatever. We're really happy. That's great. Well, look at the volume. Holy crap, we could get access to X amount of sales. We're very excited. At that point, then we say to the company, we want to order 20 units. And again, like you watching or listening today are like, why the hell would you only order 10 or 20? Well, you can do that to start if you want, right? Whatever a box quantity is, just to get in, get the feel for it, get going. They usually suppliers will have a minimum order value, not minimum order quantity. Like you have to order 100 of these. Usually they'll say, look, we need you to place an order from $500 to $1,000. Every supplier is a little bit different, but usually that is the range that we see. So we do that. We buy a bunch of different road products or little cables that they have access to that we can see we're going to make money with. And then what we say is send them to what we call a prep center. So it's a pre-Amazon location. The prep center is set up for this. We send the products directly to them. They get them ready into a box, and then Amazon come and collect that from the prep center. Now, if you're in the country you want to sell in, if you want to do this yourself, you're more than welcome to do so. But a prep center is just an easy way to be completely hands-off, completely passive. You're not involved at all, and you're able to get it into Amazon. And you don't have to like find couriers or any of that kind of stuff. Amazon will literally come and collect it from you through what they call their preferred carrier. Usually it's UPS. So like all of this, you can outsource, and it's not expensive. You calculate all of this in before you place orders and all of that, of course, to make certain that you're going to be profitable. And then Amazon take care of the distribution to the end customer, which is the most tricky part of e-commerce. And I don't know if anybody's ever seen the inside of an Amazon warehouse, but it's crazy. It's robots, it's chutes, it's everything going on. They're set up for this, you know? And so that's what, in my opinion, makes it a very, what I would call extraordinary thing, simply because we're selling things that are already working. We're getting access to them. We're using other people to ship it out on our behalf. And it's literally just because we know how to put this together in our minds. That's how we can make 10, 15, 20%, 30% margins on these things. And we're sitting at home, or you're sitting in, Ireland, Argentina, New Zealand, wherever you are. It's amazing, actually.
That was actually the next question I was going to have was, obviously you're up there in Ireland, I'm down here in New Zealand. We've got listeners all over the world and a good number in the United States, obviously, as well. For the people that are not in the United States, are there any obstacles that make this a lot more difficult, or barriers that are hard to overcome here?
Yeah, no, there isn't. I'm more than happy to say one of the things that you'll use in the US specifically is what we call a reseller certificate. But you can get one of them in like 10 minutes by going online and applying for free. We actually use California usually, just to say. But again, it depends on where you live. If you're in the US, maybe you want to do your own state or whatever. In like the UK, you can do this model as well. You don't need any of that. It's very, very simple. There's nothing you need. We do recommend people use a company. I think it's just a responsible thing from our perspective to do, just because it's a better way to trade. Usually, if you're dealing with companies, it's a little bit easier.
Not just that though. If you are using a company, there's a lot of financial benefits as well to the way that you structure things from a tax standpoint and so much more. I think if you use a company and you set it up correctly, you're normally going to make more money back in savings than if you try to do it as a sole trader.
Oh, that's right. And then at the end of the day, like for you listening, you absolutely can do this as a sole proprietor. We have people doing it as sole props right now. We just don't recommend it from, many perspectives, tax being one, but also really other things like, liability and all that kind of crack. But, usually we're selling stuff that's completely harmless, is never going to be a problem at all. And it wouldn't fall on you or I anyway, because we're not the person who made the product. But just to say, that's why we do it. I tell people, don't be scared about that, because when you're coming in to learn a business model, be it from Aidan, myself, or whoever, you're coming in because you want to make it a success. And so my thing always is, hey, let's set you up for the biggest success we possibly can. And then let's work towards the fact that you're gonna make money doing this, and you're gonna make a lot of money over time doing this. Therefore, why not let's set ourselves up correctly, and let's set our minds on, let's focus on that being the result that we get. And so that's it for me. It's like, whereas if you come in, you're like, how can I do this on like for $10 and have no company and have no, put nothing in? It's like, well, you're probably going to get that back on the other end. Whereas as we know, for every action, there's an equal opposite reaction. Put in the right action, we get the right other side. That's always my take anyway, Aidan.
Yeah, no, it's exactly that. It's I feel exactly the same way, and if you treat it like a hobby, you get hobby results, and if you treat it a bit more seriously, then you can start getting a bit more serious results. And so much of what you've been talking about here today really sort of lends itself to this dream of the 4-hour work week that you can run from anywhere in the world. I mean, this is the real 4-hour work week, and this is one that you can do from anywhere. And this is something that's been steady for a few years now. Maybe you haven't heard all that much about it in the sort of online business community, but like I said, I mean, we were well in the trenches of this sort of 5 years ago, and continue to be involved in it today. Not at the same level that you are, Stephen, but all this is just to say that this is something that works. And in the world of e-commerce, hopefully, having listened to this episode, you can sort of see where it fits into the jigsaw puzzle, and it's something that you can layer on top of other things you've done in the past, or build as something completely new. And you can get a lot of good information by Googling and going and looking at wholesale Amazon wholesale businesses, and something else that we could actually do it, because I feel like you've given a good sort of 10,000 foot perspective here. I'd like to be able to drill down more granular to the step-by-step system. I'm sure there are a number of steps or a recipe that you sort of go through. Maybe we can have you back on another episode in a few weeks' time, and sort of drill down to this a little bit more, because I know that people are going to be salivating at the idea of being able to get in on this, and so I want to sort of fill that gap and make sure people have got some more info. Anything that you sort of want to leave people with having in mind that hopefully we can get you back in a few weeks' time?
Yeah. I'll just kind of finish with a philosophical piece of like business and what I think about a lot anyway. And I hope this is helpful for you listening today. The end of the day, like again, I know Aidan a long time, and everything that they put out is great. And similar with ourselves, we put out things that are really high quality because why? Because we want to have an impact in the world. We want to see people like yourself have some success and have big success, right? And I suppose it comes back around to this idea that I learned many years ago, changed my whole life, and it was becoming a producer, not just a consumer. And I read it in the Millionaire Fast Lane book by MJ DeMarco. It's a
MJ
book I've
DeMarco.
always read.
Love that book.
Love it. I interviewed him a little while ago, actually. Super nice guy, really, really interesting dude. And it's an amazing book, but that little concept, Aidan, for me, was life changing, because I started thinking about it going, well, if I'm on the internet, like even with social media, am I spending more time consuming social media, or am I using social media to produce something for myself and my family, for produce income, produce results? If it's Amazon, am I buying stuff on Amazon all the time, or am I selling stuff on Amazon, right? It's like you can take any aspect of your life and flip it and go, how can I use this to be a producer? And then if you're consuming all the time, be it a course even, let's say you take a program from Aidan, right? Or my own or whatever, right? And you find that you're just listening to it all the time. It's problematic. You've got to become the producer. You got to take that now and put it into action, because anything that I've ever learned from anybody of substance that I've put into action, I've got results with, be it good, bad, or indifferent. And I know a friend of ours, a mutual friend, Anik Singhal. I know Anik pretty well now, and one of the things Anik said to me recently, which was really pretty great because he's a very successful guy. He said to me, Stephen, you want to know something? I reckon you may just be the best implementer I've ever seen of just doing and listening and just going and doing something with it. And for you listening today, I think that's a great thing to become known for being the person who is the single best implementer anyone's ever seen. And that's been my goal over the last number of years, 12 years now. Because before that, Aidan, I was the exact opposite. I mean, I'm telling you now, I was the exact opposite. I would talk about great ideas. Oh, is this money making thing or this, that, and the other? And I would do nothing with it. So for you listening today, whoever it is you work with, just make that your focus this year. You're going to have huge success. So that would be my parting note today.
Couldn't agree more with everything you've said there. I'll leave people with one more tidbit that comes to mind when I think about that. The Millionaire Fast Lane, what was it called, by MJ DeMarco? So he said something along the lines of, you get compensated in proportion to the size of the product, size of the problem that you solve. So you could solve a small problem for millions and millions of people and make a lot of money, or you could solve a very, very big problem to a small number of people and make a lot of money. And I think if we relate that back to e-commerce, what we're talking about doing here is hitting lots and lots of singles, selling lots and lots of products, solving lots and lots of small problems, like, the guy that needs to buy a microphone, being able to put that in front of him at a price that works and being able to get a cut of that, and doing that all day long and doing that for lots and lots of different products. And this is something that I've kept coming back to over the past decade when I've been, or more, it's more like almost 2 decades now, since I've been building my online business. And I think e-commerce, and particularly the model that you're talking about, we've been speaking about here today, Stephen, where you don't have to have a big line of products of your own. It allows you to solve lots of problems for lots and lots of people. And again, like I said, I'd love to be able to get you back here in a few weeks' time maybe, and be able to drill down into some more of the specific steps and just provide some more value. So thank you once again, man, for taking some time out of your day. I know you got 2 rugrats running, or one of them's running anyway. The other one is probably asleep or something, relatively newborn baby at this point. So thanks for taking some time away from all of that and being here with us to share some insights today.
Thank you, Aidan. I really, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I love being here. I love chatting to you. So anytime, if you guys want me back on, I'm here. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Well, that is a wrap, guys. Make sure you head over to thegrowthbooth.com, navigate to episode number 58. You're going to be able to see lots of links to the different things that we've discussed here today, a full transcription, and the video content as well, which you can also find on YouTube. Just navigate to The Growth Booth. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can see us and our beautiful faces on video beaming into whatever device you want to watch this on. And that's a wrap. We'll see you in the next episode of The Growth Booth.